Happy Monday. So what did you think? I tried a little something different with the intro video. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe I'll add some music next time. But I'm really excited to see all of you today. We are talking about how to start conversations on LinkedIn without a sales pitch. So if you're feeling like, Mindy, am I kind of like tricking people to talk to me, or I just don't feel good about what I'm sending, or do I send a connection invitation? Do I add verbiage there? How do I approach connecting on LinkedIn without just kind of feeling icky? That's what we're talking about today. Again, I love it when you add your comments below. There's already some comments going on LinkedIn. So if you're watching this on LinkedIn Live, you'll see some down below. There's also a really good example there. So check it out. So, how was your weekend? Over the weekend, I spent a good amount of time just catching up on my to do list. So, like, nothing crazy to report. It just lots of school projects after a very full week of client work, a lot of calls, and the new year is off to a great start. And I love connecting with people about their 2025 goals, like refreshing their profiles, like how do I work on my strategy? So, how is your 2025 going so far? Let me know in the chat. I'd love to hear. Now it's time for Mondays with Mindy. This is a weekly show at 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, where I talk about all things LinkedIn, a pipeline, promo, and profiles, what I like to call the three P's of LinkedIn. So, do you have questions that you want me to answer? Be sure to leave them in the comments. A lot of times I'll answer them there. If you want to shoot me a DM, you can do that as well. Sometimes I'll actually turn them into a future episode of Mondays with Mindy if I feel like it needs more time. So, I love feedback. Share it. All right. So, now for today's topic. Let's get right to it. We're going to talk about something that might just change the way you approach networking on LinkedIn. So you can kind of go from feeling like apprehensive, or is this okay? Or what do I say? Should I just not say anything? If you've been sliding into the DMs with your discovery call link or a PDF, or crossing your fingers and hoping for somebody to accept, you're kind of doing it wrong. So, and trust me, we've all been there. You got to start somewhere, but there is a better way, in a way that actually feels good. So before we dive in, let me tell you about a conversation I had with one of my coaching clients this week. I told you I had a lot of calls. One of them was this one. And they asked me, hey, Mindy, okay, should I send a connection request and immediately follow up with a message that says, hey, can I be a resource for you? And then attach a PDF of my work? Like, okay, so brace self, I'm thinking, no, no, but you don't want to say that. You can put on that smile. And I absolutely love that they wanted to be helpful. It's like, okay, but we all know it's kind of a sideways pitch for your services. And that's the thing. That approach can come across as too much too soon. So it's like meeting someone at a networking event, you're shaking their hand, and then immediately you're handing them a folder with your entire portfolio, and you've got a whole backpack full of those. So it's well intentioned, but it really puts the focus on you before you even know if they need what you're offering. And initially on LinkedIn, the goal is really about connecting and just like, okay, we're in each other's networks. That's cool. There's a connecting point somewhere. Uh, Oftentimes, the other person might reach out to ask why you connected with them. You can also follow up with a thoughtful connection reply, which we'll talk about in a little bit. So here's how I coached this person to approach it differently. I said, instead of leading with, like, here's what I do and how I can help, I encourage them to ask a question first. All right. So the question first method, this is one of my favorite techniques on LinkedIn. It works the best. It feels good. So instead of saying, here's my work, and you're kind of like leaving it there, how do they respond to that? If they don't have any work for you, or they're like, I don't really know, or you came off too strong too soon, maybe I do have work, but I'm not ready yet, then you are just kind of like, you're setting the precedent for how to engage with you. So they're not going to reach out unless they have something really definite in mind. So instead, what you could say is, hi, Susie, I came across your profile and I liked your insights on whatever their specific topic or area of interest is. I'm curious, how are you currently handling insert problem that they might have? I would love to hear your thoughts. That can be too big of a question. So for you, you have to think about, what is a question that is really easy to answer so that they could immediately go, oh, yeah, da da da. In 10, 20 seconds, they could give you a response that just feels easy and might also open the conversation to more dialogue, or it might just be a kind of great to connect here, here's my thoughts. Boom. I'm just glad we're connected on LinkedIn. People already should know what you do, and we're going to talk about that too with your profile. So they kind of know, and they wouldn't have accepted your connection invitation if they didn't already kind of know what you do. So don't like put that in their face. You really want to focus on opening dialogue and just making it easy, 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 easy for them to respond. Not like a question that's going to make them rethink the universe. Okay. So this small shift makes a huge difference because instead of trying to immediately establish yourself as a resource, you're creating an opening for conversation. And that's the key. It's just about the opening. And when you create a dialogue, instead of making it a pitch, you naturally build trust and credibility. And you're kind of like shifting the dynamic as well, because people are naturally on edge when they are on LinkedIn. This also makes it much more likely that the person will actually want to work with you down the line because your LinkedIn conversation history is all there. So if they come back to you, 6, 7 years from now, maybe months, but a lot of times it's years later when people that I've talked with come back to me and say, "Hey, I was thinking of you. I see your content every so often. And, would you like to talk to so and so?" I mean, that's how referrals are made. So if you've ever wondered how to start conversations on LinkedIn the right way, this is it. Okay. So it's being patient, it's being curious, and letting the relationship unfold naturally versus trying to hit like lead generation goals or I sent X number of connections and maybe somebody's desperate enough to respond right away. Sometimes that works, but it's not sustainable long term. You'll also get a bad rap on LinkedIn if you are that person. So, because the best connections are built over time, not in a single message, we're thinking now, right? We're like, okay, wait, this isn't a race. It's not about how many connections you get this week or if you get a call booked on your calendar because you sent out 100 horribly written messages, but somebody was desperate enough to respond or at the right point in time. You might have just caught them at a moment. It's just not going to feel good and it's not sustainable. LinkedIn is about sustainability and over the long haul and building a great reputation. People should see your name in their DMs and go, "Oh yeah, you have something good to say," or it's worth my time. There's certain people when I see them in my DMs, I'm like, "Great. Yes." Maybe there's a referral, maybe there's some work to be had, maybe there's just a really good insight or something they came across and I look forward to engaging with them because of that. So let's be honest. How many times have you gotten a connection request? Let's talk about connection requests and being on the receiving end. And you accepted it, and within minutes, it was like, boom, there's a message in your inbox with, "Hey, I'd love to get to know you. Here's my Calendly link. Let's book a 30-minute discovery call." And at first I'm like, I get it. I get it. Or they caveat it with, "I like to get to know all of my connections personally, and I want to make the time." Like, really? Really? Like how many 30-minute calls can you do in a week? I mean, if you're a salesperson, a lot. But for the rest of us who are not salespeople, that's just not the approach that you want to take because first of all, it looks like you are much too desperate, like you have way too much time on your hands. This is somebody you don't even know. They may not even be worth your time. So why are you handing them the most important thing, your time? Your time is valuable. So just like that, if you send a message like that, okay, you're out. That person on the other end is going to say no thanks. They're going to mute you. They're going to archive your message. That's what I do. They maybe even remove the connection if it feels really pushy. People are not on LinkedIn looking for a random call with a stranger they just connected with. They are here to learn. They're here to engage and build relationships organically and a lot of times slower than you might like. So the fastest way to kill any chance of a real connection is by you're pushing for that call before a conversation has even started. Like, I want the call. I want the call. I want that on my calendar. All right. So slow down. We don't like to hear that. Slow down to speed up, right? So your time is the grand prize here. Think about the professionals you admire most, those industry leaders, the founders, executives, people in your space that you look up to, you really like their content. Are they tossing around their calendar links like confetti? No, they're not. They probably have gatekeepers like probably a couple lines of gatekeepers. So, absolutely not. Their time is precious. They set boundaries, they vet conversations, and they only hop on a call when there's a clear mutual benefit. So if you are freely seen handing out your calendar link to anyone and everyone, where anyone can just like share that link and hop on, you are devaluing your time and you're making it seem like you have nothing better to do than take random sales calls or pitch your services. And let's be real, most of these calls won't turn into clients. And I think that's what's missing here is people brag like, "Hey, I've got all these calls." But wait. Are these calls actually turning into real business for you? Are they solidifying a relationship? Are they kickstarting a relationship in a way that feels good to both, where one person on the other end doesn't feel like their time is wasted? And you kind of avoid the awkward, like, so what do you do again moments on those calls, right? You have a mission when you hop on a call. All right. So every call that you have that's coming from LinkedIn should be purpose driven and it should be mutually beneficial to both people, not just you and not just them. All right. So I like to think of this as the thoughtful connector approach. All right. So what do you do instead? We are playing the very long game here, folks. All right. So you're going to engage first, you're going to build some trust, and then you're going to let that curiosity work in your favor. I love a little bit of curiosity. I like it too when the person on the other end is also kind of playing a similar game. It gets really fun when you're both a little bit curious about the other and you can see that there's some synergy arising. So I call this the thoughtful connector approach. You create intrigue, you show up with value, and you give people a reason to seek you out. And you're thinking about the timing. It may not be the right time to work with you or for the two of you to collaborate in some way. So that's fine, but establish the connection now. At some point in time, they're going to think of you, especially if they had a good positive interaction. And if you are posting content, they're likely seeing your content from time to time, maybe not all the time, but from time to time, they're going to see you showing up in their feed as well. So the best connections happen when you position yourself as someone people want to talk to. You wanna be that person where it's like, "Woo, I got on their calendar. Oh, yes, I'm really looking forward to this." You don't wanna be that person that's trying to push them onto a call like, "Oh, is this person gonna pitch me?" I just, you get the eye roll, right? So let's talk about 3 ways to start conversations that actually lead somewhere. And you're gonna kind of think this is counterintuitive, like, "What? Why are we talking about my profile?" Because number 1, we are gonna talk about optimizing your profile for connection. So we have talked a lot. If you've been following Mondays with Mindy, beginning of the year, January, I always talk about optimizing your profile because people are in the mood. Let's get it going. Boom. So I have a few, I think 3 or 4, uh, very, very tactical, practical steps on how to optimize your profile. All right. This is key. You need to optimize your profile before you start willy nilly knocking my microphone over, connecting with people. So, your LinkedIn profile is not a sales page, it's your digital first impression. It should make it very clear some things here to really think about who you are, what you do, who you help, like that's your some people like to say your ICA, that's Amy Porterfield, like your ideal client avatar or your target audience, and then also why people should care. All right, so who you are, what you do, who you help, and why should people care? All right, so if your profile is all about like book a call with me and they see like your Calendly link everywhere, whatever other link you like to use, or it feels very pitchy, very selly sell, it's time for a glow up. It's time to make a refresh. So look at some of my former videos. Just reach out to me if you're like, "Mindy, I don't know where they are." Just shoot me a DM, comment below. I'll point you in the right direction. The right people should be curious enough about you by looking at your profile that they're going to want to engage. So they're not going to feel like they're stepping onto a virtual used car sales lot, like, okay, brace self, you're about to pitch me. I really need a car right now, but I really don't want to make it through the sales process, right? So we don't want to come across that way. And the nice thing about getting your profile dialed in is it does that heavy lifting. It sets people at ease. A great LinkedIn profile, when somebody comes onto that profile and they don't know you, they breathe a sigh of relief like, okay, this is written by a human. This actually is a person I want to connect with. They seem like a cool person. They're not going to spam me. It should give them that, like, their shoulders should kind of go, okay, we're good. Great. Like, I love connecting with real, authentic people who are representing themselves well on LinkedIn and who have put thought into it and have set me at ease as a result. All right. So, number one is your profile. All right. Okay. So, then number two, this is where we are engaging first and connecting second. All right. So, we're thinking about that thoughtful connector approach. So, if you want to have those meaningful conversations, stop cold messaging. All right. Stop like sending, like you get a list and you just send to everybody. You need to start engaging and doing some homework first. So if you can, not everybody posts content, so this doesn't work for everyone, but comment on their posts if they do post content. If you can do that on LinkedIn, great, but sometimes you're going to have to do harder work. You're going to have to, if they have an email list, get on their email list, actually read some of their emails first. You're going to have to look for them on other channels if they are active elsewhere. Maybe they have a podcast, maybe they have a YouTube channel, maybe they've been a guest on one of these places. And so you are looking online for something that they have done that you can comment on and bring into the conversation, especially if you are kind of cold connecting and they don't know you at all and they don't have any mutual connections. Okay. So think about, how can I engage with something they have done professionally? And you may have to do a little bit of work, but if it's a valuable enough connection, you'll do the work, right? So then you'll want to think about sharing their content. You can do this before or after you connect with them. If you can do it before, you are stroking their ego. They're likely going to see it unless they're like a really big name, and they're not going to see it. Their person managing their account will see it, but they'll still see it. They'll notice it. So it doesn't have to be on LinkedIn where you're doing the sharing, but that does help. You know, if it's on LinkedIn, you're sending a connection invitation, great. They've seen your name before, they've seen your profile picture. But if you need to do it somewhere else, you can do that as well. All right. And then join the conversation. If they have any conversations going anywhere about a topic, and likely it falls within your interest areas too, if you want to connect with them. If they're talkative type and they post content online, try to find that conversation, try to jump in where it makes sense. Don't do this awkwardly. I've seen it done very poorly, and you're like, yeah, you're just trying to get on my radar. You're just going to pitch and spam me. Do this authentically. Just be a professional. Okay. We know how to do this. Then and only then, like after you have had like some interaction or you've done some homework, maybe you can't, maybe they're just not talkative. You know, maybe they're one of those like super secret spies or something. And you're like, Mindy, I can't find anything. Okay, great. You have actually done your homework though, and you have seen that there's nothing online that you can comment on. So you know that about them, right? So you're going to have to be clever, and you're going to have to start a conversation based on what you can see on their profile, what they do, what's happening in the industry now. You're going to have to come up with something because you don't have an easy in. All right. Doesn't mean you shouldn't connect with them, but you're going to have to put your thinking cap on and come up with a really good connection invitation or thank you message. So then and only then, after you've done this homework, do you send a personalized, if you can, not everyone can, send a personalized connection request. It depends on whether you have a paid LinkedIn account and how many connection requests you've already sent this month. Okay. I'm not going to get into too many details there. Then and only then, send a personalized connection request. And if you can't send a personalized one, send a connection. Hopefully your LinkedIn headline looks good enough and your profile looks good enough where they'll accept without any context. And again, no pitches, no agendas. Don't throw your email in here. Just genuine interest. All right. All right. Hold yourself to it. I know for some of you, this is very hard. Now, for example, here's something that I've used. I'm going to give you my exact message. Okay. So for those of you who like templates, this is what I use. Like, this is what I'm currently using, like right now, like this past week. So for me, I like to, and I've talked about this before, I like to connect with people that are inside of communities or groups that I'm already a part of. Why? Because it gives me something to talk about, even if I know nothing about the person specifically. Okay. So it shortcuts the homework process, but still I have to do homework because I have to find them in this community. I have to find them on LinkedIn. I have to make sure they're the same person, look at their profile. Yes. Okay, great. So there's homework involved, but I will say something like this. Hey, Samuel, saw you in the name of the group. I went through related program or whatever it is, the reason we're in that group back in whatever time frame. Hard to believe that was however long ago. I'd love to get connected with you here on LinkedIn too. What's your favorite part about being in the group? Okay, it's easy to come up with a reason why you're a part of that group. All right. For most of us, if we're an active member in a group, that's easy. Now, if they're not an active member, they're going to be like, what group? Or they just may not respond, which is fine. That's totally cool too. So I feel like that type of approach, it's easy. I'm not trying to sell them anything. They can see what I do. They know I'm a social media person. They know I specialize in LinkedIn. It's on my profile. So they're likely already a little bit apprehensive because I'm messaging them on LinkedIn. I sell social media services. So they're going to be on guard anyways. So I have to be extra cautious to set them at ease. And then what happens after this? When they actually respond, the key here is really thinking through, okay, what's a proper response? How am I going to respond to their first message to me? Because if I go into a pitch, they're going to go, boom, that confirmed my suspicions. You're another one of them. So think very hard and carefully about how you respond to their first response to you. And also think about whether or not you want to be proactive. After they connect with you, a lot of people won't respond. You can just leave it open. Like you don't have to say anything. Or you can send a thank you message. I am currently right now just not saying anything because I'm not aggressively prospecting. For me, LinkedIn, this is what we're talking about this month, is about referrals and really building like long-term partnerships and relationships with people. So people think of me down the road, but I'm not aggressively like pitching people one on one, trying to book calls on my own calendar. Yes, I've done it. Yes, I do it for some clients. Is that what I'm focused on personally? No, it just doesn't vibe with what availability I have and the types of people I want to work with. So think about that though. How you respond, that sets the tone. Okay. So you're putting your first impression out there with your profile. You're sending them a great connection invitation. They respond or they don't respond. What are you going to do then? All right, that's the key. That is the key to LinkedIn. And I can tell people who have done this well and the people who respond in certain ways, I'm like, yes, you get it. Yes, this is the people who pitch me, or like don't respond and then invite me to a webinar like 3 months later. I just go, "Oh, really? Really? You haven't learned the game yet." All right. So, and then finally, we are showing up with value. So, the best way to get people to want to talk to you, give them something worth talking about. So you're sharing insights, experiences, maybe some lessons. Maybe you connect with this person and then months down the road you're like, "Oh yeah, we talked about the fact that you're launching this program. I just came across a client who is looking to shift careers and your career shifting program I think would be great. Is it okay if I put you two in touch? Or can I give her your information?" Things like this. That's what LinkedIn is about. It's about thoughtful connecting. So the goal isn't to get likes. Like none of this is visible to the outside world. And I think that's where people get lost because they only see what happens on LinkedIn on the surface level with content. They don't see all this back end stuff, which is really where the magic happens on LinkedIn. This is why I like LinkedIn. It's not for this like pushing out content stuff. It's for the relationships and the conversations and the DMs where I get to put people together. I get to help them in a way, that's the magic. That's what gets me excited. So we are really thinking about real conversations that pull people in for the long term. All right. So we're shifting that conversation from the let's talk, let's hop on a call to let's actually connect. And when it is the right time, you'll have a call. When it is the right time, you'll have an email exchange. You'll put somebody in touch with them or vice versa. So when you stop trying to force the conversations and you start inviting people into your professional world, everything changes. That's where the energy shifts. The right people will engage, the right opportunities will show up. And the best part, there is no awkward pitch slap messages or like these desperate calendar link drops required that we all feel a little bit icky about, right? So tell me, I want to hear what's like the worst LinkedIn pitch that you've ever received. I love horrible LinkedIn pitches, or you can just describe a scenario. Tell me in the comments because it'll be fun. It'll be fun. So drop it in the comments. I need a good laugh today, and I'm sure everyone else will enjoy it as well. All right. So if you are looking for a better way to connect on LinkedIn without resorting to cold pitches, let's chat, have a conversation. Join me in the comments, shoot me a DM. As you can tell, I love DMs. And if you want more one-to-one help, you know where to find me. You know where my calendar is. I have a calendar. It's on my website. You can go there and talk with me one-on-one if you want to. But for the most part, you can get what you need to know from the content that I share publicly. So don't feel like you have to, pay me anything. Just watch my videos, look through the archive, find something that interests you. You could also hop on my email list if you want. Just go to mindyramsey.com website. You'll see a pop-up. Boom, you're good to go. So I will see you all next week on Mondays with Mindy. This month we are talking about referrals, and this kind of set the tone because we are talking about starting and opening conversations, and we're going to talk about how to make this more sustainable long term. So if you have ideas or experiences or questions about that and how to do this on LinkedIn, drop them in the comments. Like I said, shoot me a DM because we will talk about it this month. So I look forward to next week. Keep it real, engaging, and pitch free. All right. All right. Bye, y'all. See you later.